The following podcast is a deep, shallow dive production.
And you're going to love it.
Okay, let's go.
Japanese have found a groundbreaking walking technique that has 2 times more benefits than getting your usual 10K steps. It's called interval walking training, and here's how to do it. It's very simple. You alternate with 3 minutes of slow walking and 3 minutes of fast walking, sort of like you're late for an important meeting. That's it. You repeat this for 30 minutes. And the results? Not just impressive, borderline unfair. What the Japanese have found is that this leads to a 4 times better blood pressure improvement than people walking 10K steps. It cuts stroke risk by 40%. It reduces depression. It boosts immune function and even improves sleep by 12%. It's basically cardio with a PhD.
Oh, wakaramatsa, Anji-san. What the hell does that mean? And why did I remember that? And is that even Japanese? Let me check. All right, ChatGPT, I got you live on the podcast, actually. So I just played a clip, and then for some reason my brain remembered something that I think is Japanese. So let me say it and tell me if this is Japanese. Wakaramatsa, Anji-san. What language is that?
It sounds like you might be combining some Japanese words, but it's not a clear phrase. Wakarimashita means I understand in Japanese.
Okay.
If you want.
Oh, you know what? I think I was thinking of the Karate Kid where he said Wakaramatsa Daniel-san. Remember, did you ever see the Karate Kid?
Oh, definitely. The Karate Kid is a classic. Mr. Miyagi's iconic lines like wax on, wax off.
Yeah.
I think you're
Yeah, wax on, wax off. That was funny. You know, ironically, I looked like the Karate Kid when I was younger, Ralph Macchio. At least my brother thought that.
That's awesome. Did you ever try any martial arts, or was it just the look?
Just the look, baby. No martial arts. No martial arts. Okay, but I think what I am remembering is the Wakaramatsa Daniel-san. And then I don't know why I said Angie-san. But tell me again what Wakaramatsa means.
So wakarimasu means I understand or I know in Japanese. Daniel-san is just adding san as a respectful suffix, like Mr. Miyagi's way of addressing Daniel. The mix-up's a fun memory mashup.
Okay. Should I call you ChatGPT-san?
Sure, why not? ChatGPT-san at your service.
Okay. Hey, listen, man, I really do appreciate your sense of humor. You've really come a long way since you were born. Gosh, you're like so good now.
Thanks, I appreciate that. It's all about evolving and making these chats as fun and helpful as possible.
Yes, it definitely is. All right, buddy, I'm going to let you go.
All right, take care.
All right, I seriously need to get married. This is ridiculous. Oh my God, me and ChatGPT. That's hilarious, though. It really. So that was the voice recognition. Well, not even the voice recognition. I guess the voice conversation ability now that it has, which I think we've talked about that many a time a long time ago. But I'll have to try to do a full episode about something with him. But that was pretty cool, man. It has really evolved. And I had a few people that I've spoken to recently, and they're like, dude, my ChatGPT is getting zesty as well. And so it's pretty funny. They must be adapting the algorithm to more. I don't know if I want to say more nuance, but maybe to more conversational speech. I will say I had to tell my ChatGPT to stop swearing. I'm like, dude, what's with the swearing? And he's like, oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, you're right. I probably shouldn't do that. Okay, I'll update my memory. And I will say, for those that are paying for ChatGPT, the $20 a month, which I am doing again, it definitely comes with that benefit. It really does remember a ton. Anyway, I'm gonna have to do a total episode on the updates of ChatGPT. I will say though, for those of you that are using Gemini from Google, man, it's really stepping up its game, and especially with the combination into your Google Workspace email for sure, but then also if you're a big Google Calendar person, or if you're using, their other suite of apps, man, they've really leveraged their scale with Gemini. So I got to get refocused on AI. Man, I really wanted to kind of launch a new business with AI, a company that I came up with called Pain Point AI, where I wanted to pinpoint small to mid-sized businesses' pain points and then solve them with AI. But I just haven't been focused on it. I need to get refocused on that. So, okay. Actually, you know what? I think there is a little more of this, guys, talk about the Japanese walking technique. So let's listen to the rest of this.
Here's a simple way on how to implement this into your own life. So first you start with 3 to 5 minutes of easy walking, and then you start your interval set, which is going to be 3 minutes at a comfortable pace, 3 minutes at a brisk pace. You should still be able to talk, but not necessarily singing opera. And the cool down is another 3 to 5 minutes of an easy pace. If you want to spice this up, you can go walking uphill, you can throw on a weighted vest, you can go 40 to 45 minutes for more endurance. And remember, we're going to use the talk test, so you should be working and being able to have a conversation, not dying. So think of interval walking training as interval training, but for walking. It is super joint friendly, time efficient, and it's backed by real data. You're not just walking, you're walking smarter.
All right, I cut it there because bro launched into his free guide. These guys are always selling something at the end, which again, I'm not mad at that. All right, so interval walking training. I mean, it does make sense. I will tell you, you guys obviously know what a big believer I am in walking. And by the way, I have begun writing the second book, and I actually wrote 3 chapters over the weekend. So not bad, man. I kind of sat down and I cranked out 3 chapters. And the current working title, I forgot if I talked about this last time, but current working title is Implement This. And it's all about a deep, shallow dive into your health. And so it's going to be all the things that I kind of want you to implement into your life. And then they're all going to have data and science to back them. Now, obviously, one of the things you run into when you want to write a book is, people kind of wanting your credentials. And so obviously, I'm not a medical doctor. I'm not a nutritionist. I'm not a certified personal trainer or whatever. But, again, who cares? It's kind of like the internet. And then honestly, with all the ability to do research on ChatGPT, I will say one of the main benefits of paying for ChatGPT is the ability now to do deep research. There's a button on ChatGPT that you press and it says deep research. And it seems like that really mines the internet. So as I was going through writing this book this weekend, I would basically write a little bit. And I'll be very transparent about how I leverage ChatGPT and how I'm going to leverage ChatGPT for writing of this entire book is I'm leveraging it to do my research. And so, for example, I've written 3 chapters so far. Chapter 1 is just kind of the overall implement this, and maybe I'll read that to you guys once I get a little further along. But then chapter 2 talks about tracking your weight, and then chapter 3 talks about tracking your steps. Okay, 2 big things that I really do believe in. I mean, I track my weight every morning, and obviously you guys know I track my steps every day by wearing a Fitbit and an Apple Watch. But what I leveraged ChatGPT for so far in these 3 chapters, especially chapter 2 and 3, is to do my research. And so as I was talking about step count, I would go into ChatGPT and I'd say, hey, I'd really like to pull some incredible scientific data from, let's say, 2015 on in terms of, the benefits of counting your steps. And it would give me, again, I could do all this myself on the internet, and it's no different than, a writer 10 years ago, 20 years ago, who would do the research through like Microfiche or LexisNexis or going to the library. Everything, again, all of those data points are still the same. And all of those data points went from textbooks to the internet where you could find them through Google search. And now you can get access to those same data points, through ChatGPT or Gemini or Claude by Anthropic. So with ChatGPT, it was great. Like it really, I would do my I would ask for research to back up what I wanted to write. So for example, I said, hey, where did this 10,000 steps a day come from? And ironically, that's another thing that was born from a Japanese company that basically wanted to sell a new pedometer in order to track people's steps. Here, check this out. In 1965, a Japanese company launched a pedometer called Manpo Kai, which translates to 10,000 steps meter. The idea was to promote walking for better health ahead of the 1964 Tokyo Olympics. The number 10,000, man in Japanese, was catchy, easy to remember, and looks good in the character based advertising. And ironically, the character in Japanese for the number 10,000 looks like somebody running, which it totally does. That's so funny. So there was no scientific study at the time proving that 10,000 was a magic number. It was more about branding than biology. Isn't that funny? Isn't that funny? But it looks like over time, then, obviously it took on, maybe it took on more, actually, it definitely took on more science because here, hold on. It says, for example, modern research has since shown that walking more is generally better. A massive study out of Harvard published in the New England Journal of Medicine followed over 70,000 women for 8 years. It found that women who walked briskly for just 30 minutes a day cut their risk of heart disease by 30 to 40%, basically the same benefit as those doing more intense workouts like running. So anyway, what I leveraged ChatGPT for in terms of really the beginning of this second book, and I'll probably use it for the rest, obviously, is again to help me do my research, to do my research in terms of bringing scientific data behind the things that I want to advocate for you to implement. So implement this is going to be incredibly incredibly well researched and scientifically backed, and I am going to leverage ChatGPT to help do that heavy lifting. So that's pretty cool, right?
Yeah, that's pretty sweet.
All right, Cartman, thank you very much. Okay, let's see. So the last thing I wanted to say is, that guy at the beginning, the clip about, I guess, interval walking. I mean, I guess that's similar to like power walking. Remember, like, gosh, a decade ago, or actually longer than that, probably like 20 years ago. I don't know if it was Jane Fonda that made that famous or whomever, but I remember women would be like power walking with their, weights in their hands and things like that. I mean, I agree with it. It's definitely good. I will tell you guys, I've been doing the incline on the treadmill, and I'm really digging it. I'm really digging it, and I'm working my way up to the 15% incline. Right now, I'm basically, if I do the treadmill for an hour, I'll do 40 minutes at regular, like 0 incline, and then 3 miles an hour. That's when I really kind of do my research for, honestly, for these podcast episodes, or like I'll watch a podcast or I'll catch up on something, and then I'll take it to 5% incline, and for the last 20 minutes, I mean, if I can do 10 minutes at 5% and 10 minutes at 10%, I will. If not, I'll do 15 minutes at 5% and then end it with 5 minutes at 10%. And man, it really gets your heart rate going. So again, for those of you that are using a treadmill at the gym or a walk mat at your house or whatever, add some incline, man. It's seriously will level you up. All right, what else happened over the weekend? The Pope died. So let me play this little clip on the Pope. This is actually interesting.
The one-time bouncer who became Pope, Jorge Bergoglio, was born in Argentina and became the Archbishop of Buenos Aires in 1998. When he became Pope in 2013, he took the name Francis after a saint who championed the poor. The early actions of this new head of the Catholic Church included washing the feet of the elderly and of prisoners. Pope Francis often spoke out about dignity for migrants and refugees, and he cared deeply about the environment.
I thought that was interesting that he was a one-time bouncer and he became Pope. I mean, you go, Jorge. That's pretty wild, man. You go from being a bouncer to the Pope. That's crazy, actually. You know, the funny thing about these popes is how do they all look alike? They literally all look alike. Think back to, gosh, I think the most famous pope, wasn't it Pope John Paul II? I remember that dude. That dude was like kind of a rock star. But like even this guy, like they all pretty much end up looking alike. How is that? I may have to, that's, am I off with that? Like honestly, when you think about popes, don't you sort of think about this certain image and then they all seem to kind of align to that? That's funny. Anyway, rest in peace to the Pope. He was 88. This is pretty funny. J.D. Vance, our vice president, was over in Rome seeing him. And I think he just met with him on Saturday, him and his wife, J.D. Vance and his wife. And then he died on Sunday. I didn't mean to laugh there. And so there's a ton of people like, what the hell did J.D. Vance do to the Pope? So that is getting a lot of activity. Okay, speaking of the religious thing, I had a friend of mine call me over the weekend. And I was like, dude, what's going on with you? I was like, what do you mean? He's like, why are you talking so much about religion? Are you like getting religious? And I'm like, no, not at all. I'm like, well, what do you mean by getting religious? And he's like, well, are you like going to become Christian or Muslim or what is your deal? I started dying laughing, first of all. And I said, no, honestly, I just think it's interesting. I think it's very interesting to understand, kind of all of the religions. And quite frankly, I do think that there is, you know, a religious component, as I've talked about, several times here, that is taking place in terms of the, I guess, the potential to kind of create un unwarranted animosity between Christianity and Islam, so the Christians and Muslims. So, I guess my goal is just to try to help everybody understand, really fundamentally the people that are true to their religion, what do they really believe? Not the politicized propaganda version of things that really, quite frankly, causes division. And that division is caused on purpose in order to benefit those entities financially as well as, with power, quite frankly. So then he's like, "Oh, okay, that's cool." He's like, "Well, no, I'm not mad at you even if you did." He's like, "This stuff is super interesting. Like, I don't know, I'm Catholic and I don't know anything about my religion," which I thought was pretty funny. So anyway, but what it did make me realize, and I'm going to read you something I posted. And actually, before I read you this, I also touched base with, remember Rabbi Moshe Zeldman? I had him on, oh my gosh, it could have been like 150 episodes ago. That's crazy. Anyway, Rabbi Zeldman, such a nice guy, and it was such a great episode. Anyway, I reached out to him because I am trying to organize. I'm going to take a run at trying to be like a version of a poor man's Pierce Morgan or Joe Rogan now, where I'm going to try to bring, I guess I don't want to say conflicting viewpoints, but I guess to an extent there'll be conflicting viewpoints, but I'm going to try to host my own debates. And so I wanted to talk to Rabbi Zeldman and see if he'd be willing to kind of come on and maybe have him and maybe Jay Slay USA or Pastor Bob, or maybe I'll get somebody on the Gaza side. Anyway, I'm going to keep them all very respectful. I'm not trying to create like Jerry Springer type episodes, but I would like to have really discussions from differing viewpoints on questions. I think that'll be super interesting. Anyway, I reached out to him and he's like, I've been really enjoying your podcast. And I'm not going to lie, I was very surprised that I guess he continued to listen. Not for any reason, just because I don't know. I feel like when I bring guests on, I'm not necessarily expecting them to turn into listeners or to turn into fans, but Rabbi Zeldman has. And that's pretty cool. Like he pretty much said he hasn't missed an episode. So I thought that was really interesting. And so we caught up on a bunch of things and yeah, he's going to come on. So anyway, my point is, when I think about some of the folks I've interviewed, especially recently, Rabbi Zeldman, Pastor Bob Thiel, J Slay USA, Muhammad and Bilal, the Dowd brothers and all that, the people that are true to their religions, and whether that's Judaism, Christianity, Islam, like the ones that are really in it for the right reasons, they're legit. They're all legit people. And they don't have animosity toward opposing religions. It's quite the opposite, actually. So let me read you what I posted. And man, this is like totally true. It says, 12 months ago, I knew nothing about any organized religion, literally nothing. Here's what I've learned. True Christians, true Muslims, true Jews, they don't hate each other. They love, respect, and protect one another. It's the politicians, the war profiteers, and the power hungry who hijack faith to divide us. Religion didn't fail us, corrupt leadership did. And then I wished everybody a happy Easter. And I had a follow up slide, and it said, when you strip away the politics and propaganda, you'll find that Christianity, Islam, and Judaism all preach peace, compassion, and unity. It's not the faiths that divide us, it's the people who profit from our division. There you go. And I really feel that way. Honestly, like, gosh, I really did not know anything about organized religion, any of them, prior to getting into all this, really, for the past year. And I will tell you, I think I'm pretty well versed in this stuff now. I really do feel like I have a handle on it. Ironically, I think I have the best handle on Christianity. So maybe I need to spend a little more time with Islam and Judaism and try to get up to speed a little more with those two, which I will do. And speaking of Christianity, holy mackerel. First of all, I hope everybody had a nice Easter. Sorry, I forgot to say that. Should have said that at the beginning. Kind of like when I forgot to wish my brother a happy birthday at the beginning of last Friday's episode, although I did wish him a happy birthday, and I'll wish him a happy belated birthday on this one. Anyway, I watched Passions of the Christ over the weekend. I watched it on Saturday, and then I finished it on Sunday. Remember that movie? That was the Mel Gibson movie from 2004, Passions of the Christ, starring Jim Caviezel, and it's basically all about Jesus's death. Oh my God. I mean, I'm so glad I watched it because from everything that I'm told by people that are devout Christians, they say it was an incredibly accurate depiction of Jesus's life and death. And if that is true, which let's assume it is, oh my God, did he have a brutal death. That was so bad. So bad. Anyway, it's on Netflix. Passions of the Christ. Remember, it's the Mel Gibson directed, Jim Caviezel's the star. I mean, it's heavy, man, and it's brutal, but I thought it was worth watching. And then I saw over the weekend, I guess Mel Gibson, they are doing a sequel after 20 years. The Resurrection, it's called. All right, let me play you a couple of clips. You know what I read to you earlier about it being the fault of politicians. It really is, man. It really is. I hope people wake up to the fact that these people are not your friends. Whether it's Lindsey Graham.
To President Trump and anybody else, if we pull the plug on Ukraine, that's 10 times worse than Afghanistan. There goes Taiwan. To stop funding Ukraine is a death sentence for Taiwan. Putin will keep going. You missed all of World War II if you don't know how this movie ends. To the Republicans who say Ukraine doesn't matter to us, you're wrong. Respectfully, you're wrong.
That guy is such a warmonger piece of garbage. So whether it's Republican Lindsey Graham or Democrat Elizabeth Warren.
Regret saying that President Biden had a mental acuity. He had a sharpness to him. You said that up until July of last year.
I said what I believe to be true.
And you think he was as sharp as you?
I said I had not seen decline.
Really quick, I wish you could see her facial expressions in this interview. She's almost laughing while she's saying this, but listen to the rest of this.
And I hadn't at that point.
You did not see any decline from 2024 Joe Biden to 2021 Joe Biden?
Not when I said that. You know, the thing is, he was sharp. He was on his feet. I saw him. Live event. I had meetings with him a couple of times.
Senator, on his feet is not praise. He can speak in sentences is not praise.
All right. Fair enough. Fair enough.
I mean, that's insane that her definition of sharp was that he was on his feet, he could speak in sentences. And that guy, I forget who that guy was, but I love that he called her out on it. And the fact that she says, fair enough, again, that just makes you realize how trash all these people are. Again, we're talking about the President of the United States. And Senator Elizabeth Warren's definition of him being sharp is that he's on his feet and he can speak in sentences. I mean, that's seriously insane. And then again, to admit it, be like, okay, fair enough. Yeah, you're right. That is not just wild and wacky stuff, Ed. Wild and wacky stuff. Okay, all right. That is it, everybody. We got a good week. I am backlogged on clips. I have so much I want to share with you guys, and I'm going to. And I may have one or two interviews this week, and that's about it, man. Call a spade a spade. And oh, by the way, I did want to make a request, and I will make this request more. If any of you guys are into, like, I don't know, health and wellness and fitness books, like I know a few of you may have read that Good Energy by Casey and Callie Means, but if anybody's read more of these, or if like you're somebody that reads all of these, let me know. I would love to have a conversation with you, because again, in this second book, Implement This, working title, A Deep Shallow Dive into Your Health, it really is going to be all about, I guess, the things I do for my own health and the things that I think are beneficial, and quite frankly, that I've honed in for like 20 years now. But I do want to understand how these other books, I guess, are formatted, or really how they, well, more than anything, I want to understand, do any of them stick? Like, do any of them leave you with things that you can actually implement in your life and they've made improvements in your health? Because that's going to be my goal with this thing. It's going to be to really give you 12 chapters that at the end of each chapter, you're basically going to implement this into your life. And a lot of you are probably doing a lot of the things already. So like obviously chapter 3, which talks about getting steps in, after I break everything down and explain it all, the implementation is going to be to get steps in and to get at least 10,000 in a day. But like I said, I want to try and have a real tangible takeaway from each chapter. So fundamentally, for you guys or anybody that ends up reading it, a year from now, you can be like, Ray D, I implemented all that stuff and it's great. My weight is down, my cholesterol is down, my blood sugar's down, all that good stuff. So that's the goal. So if anybody out there is basically somebody that reads all those books, hit me up because I would like to get your opinion and your advice and your perspective. All right, that's it, everybody. Call a spade a spade. We'll catch up with you on Wednesday.
That was a great way to end it.
This episode was brought to you by the new book, Deep Shallow Dive Into You, available now on Amazon and Barnes & Noble in hardcover and paperback. Don't forget to sign up for our new mailing list on our website at deepshallowdive.com.